the quiet arrival in the depths of space. Where stars burn bright and planets spin endlessly in their orbits, a quiet mystery was unfolding. Far beyond the reach of the galaxy's most powerful empires, a hidden human colony had made its move. For years, no one knew of its existence. It was as if it had vanished, lost in the darkness of the cosmos, forgotten by time. But that silence was about to end. In a far-off corner of a remote star system, a single ship emerged from the shadows. It was not the typical ship seen in the galaxy. Sleek and silent, it glided effortlessly through the stars, as if it had been born to this vast and empty space. Its hull was dark, blending perfectly with the surrounding void. From a distance, it appeared as nothing more than a flicker in the sky, but as it drew closer, it became clear this was no ordinary vessel. The ship's arrival was anything but expected. For centuries, the galaxy's most powerful empires had believed they ruled the stars. Their fleets stretching across the galaxy's vast reaches, they had forgotten the humans. Those beings who once lived in a small corner of the universe with dreams of exploring the stars. They never expected them to return, or at least not like this. The ship drifted toward a nearby star system, its movements graceful and purposeful. On board, the crew, though few in number, were prepared for what awaited them. The humans were not here by accident. They had come to reclaim what they believed was rightfully theirs. As the ship entered the system, it sent out a small probe, a tiny craft that darted toward the closest planet. It moved quickly, its sensors scanning the atmosphere, the terrain, and the resources. The probe's mission was simple: gather information. But the humans knew what the galaxy's empires did not. This system, though quiet, was rich in resources, and it would be the perfect starting point for their return. The probe's data came back quickly. The planets in the system were mostly uninhabited, with only a few scattered colonies and outposts. There were no large military fleets or alien defenses to stop them. It was a golden opportunity, one the humans could not afford to waste. They would make their move now. Back on the ship, the captain, a calm and calculating leader, stared out at the distant stars. His mind raced with possibilities. This was just the beginning. He knew that the galaxy's greatest empires would never expect a human colony to rise again. They had no idea what was coming. As the ship continued its journey, a sense of quiet excitement spread among the crew. They were about to change the course of history, and they knew it. They were not just reclaiming a forgotten colony, they were proving to the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. But in the depths of the galaxy, the first signs of their arrival began to stir. At a distant observation post, a lone scientist, watching the stars through a telescope, noticed something strange, a small blip on his radar, something that didn't belong. It was fleeting, disappearing as quickly as it appeared. He frowned, unsure of what he had seen. Perhaps it was just a glitch in the system, but his instincts told him it was something more. Across the galaxy, other observatories and outposts began to pick up similar readings. No one knew what it was, but all signs pointed to one thing: something was moving, something large and unknown, and it wasn't of alien origin. The galaxy's greatest minds were starting to question what they were seeing, but they couldn't yet put the pieces together. They had no idea that the humans, hidden in the shadows, were making their return. Back in the heart of the system, the ship silently positioned itself near one of the largest planets. It was time to make the first move. The human fleet, though small in number, had a strategic advantage. Their ships were faster, more agile, and their technology more advanced than anything the galaxy's empires had ever seen. The captain gave the order to deploy a second wave of probes. This time, the probes were equipped with more advanced technology, drones designed to infiltrate alien communication networks. They would send a message to the rest of the galaxy, whether the galaxy was ready for it or not. As the probes began their task, the ship's captain stood tall, knowing that this was just the beginning of something much bigger. The galaxy would soon understand the power of the hidden human colony. They had no idea how far humanity had come, nor the strategy the humans had put in place. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter as the humans made their first steps into the galaxy they once knew, but the path ahead was uncertain. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The humans were about to take over an entire star system, and it would leave the rest of the universe in awe. The countdown had begun. The first signs of power. The quiet hum of the human ship continued as it drifted further into the system. The crew aboard the vessel had a single goal in mind: to claim what they believed was rightfully theirs. But even though their mission was clear, they were not the only ones observing the stars. The first signs of something unusual began to ripple through the galaxy's farthest reaches. From distant observation posts and radar stations, unusual readings were detected. Small, seemingly harmless signals blinked across the galaxy's vast network. At first, the reports were dismissed as glitches or anomalies. something that didn't warrant much attention. But as the readings continued, the situation began to change. A handful of experts and analysts began to question the growing data. There was something strange about the signals. They didn't fit with anything the galaxy's powers had ever seen. Something was moving, quietly, without detection, like a shadow that had slipped between the stars. One by one, ships along the outer rim began to experience technical failures. Communications went down, sensors malfunctioned, and entire fleets found themselves suddenly adrift. It was like the galaxy's technological lifeblood was being drained. But no one could pinpoint where it was coming from. At the heart of this growing mystery, an emergency meeting was called. Galactic leaders, used to absolute control over their territories, gathered on a warship, their faces grim as they reviewed the data. The reports were vague, but they all agreed on one thing: something was disrupting the system. Ships were vanishing, equipment was failing, and the untraceable source was far too close for comfort. Yet, despite the mounting panic, no one could have guessed what was truly happening. Far from the center of galactic authority, the human colony had begun to make its presence known. And it wasn't with a show of force, but rather with a quiet, precise strategy undetected until now. The colony's first few probes had already infiltrated communication channels. Silent and undetected, they slipped into the galactic networks, feeding information back to the humans. The human ships, equipped with advanced cloaking technologies, had disabled every attempt to locate their position. No one realized they were being watched, studied, and anticipated. The galactic empires had long been used to thinking of themselves as invincible, untouchable. And yet here they were, struggling against something they couldn't even see. A dark silence loomed over the star systems as the first whispers of something bigger began to spread. Across different sectors, small military outposts sent word of strange ships darting through the systems, too quick to catch, too elusive to pin down. Rumors began to swirl among the stars. There were whispers of a hidden human colony, of something ancient and powerful that had been waiting in the shadows. No one could believe it. Not yet, but slowly doubt crept in, and the galaxy began to feel the weight of an unknown force pressing down on it. The Empire's response was slow and disjointed. Some doubted the reports. Others refused to believe the possibility of humanity's return. But as more anomalies appeared, ships being destroyed by a fleet that didn't exist, communications scrambling for no reason at all, the first hint of fear began to creep into the minds of the galaxy's most powerful. They could no longer ignore the signs. On one of the largest galactic ships, an admiral watched as the data poured in. His brow furrowed as he scanned the latest report. He'd seen the strange signals before, but this time something had changed. He could feel it in his gut. The galaxy was on the edge of something new, something terrifying. The human colony wasn't just here to explore, they were here to take what they believed was their birthright. And now, there was no turning back. The first military fleet was dispatched to investigate. A mix of warships, scouts, and cruisers was sent to the outer rim, the very area where the anomalies were strongest. Their mission was simple: track down whatever was causing the disruptions and, if necessary, destroy it. The fleet moved with confidence, believing that they could handle any threat. But as they ventured deeper into the unknown territory, the tension among the crew grew. The stars, once so familiar, now seemed dark and foreboding. They were venturing into a region of space where no one, not even the most advanced fleets, had dared to go soon. The fleet made its first direct contact, not with a human ship, but with a mysterious craft that had appeared out of nowhere. It was small, nearly invisible to their scanners, yet it moved faster than any ship they had ever seen. The crew tried to lock onto it, but before they could even react, the mysterious craft vanished into the vast emptiness, and then came the first attack. Without warning, the fleet found itself under fire. The first shot came from nowhere, cutting through their shields with ease. The alien ships attempted to return fire, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the force field surrounding the human craft. The humans didn't reveal their full strength. No, they wanted to observe, to let the galactic fleet waste their energy before revealing the true extent of their power. Within moments, the fleet was in chaos. Panic spread throughout the ships as communications went down, and the crew scrambled to make sense of the situation. But the humans were always one step ahead. They knew how to outmaneuver their enemies, how to strike when least expected. With each passing second, the humans were becoming more than just a mystery. They were becoming a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy had only just begun to realize what was coming. Asterisk shocking revelation: the galaxy was reeling from the unexpected assault. No one had expected humanity, long believed to be insignificant and scattered across a distant corner of the universe, to reappear in such a dramatic fashion. The initial reports of mysterious disruptions were dismissed as mere anomalies, but now, they could no longer be ignored. The galaxy was beginning to realize something terrifying: the humans had returned. And they weren't just a threat. They were a force that had come to claim what was rightfully theirs. The news spread across the stars like wildfire. The galactic empires were scrambling to understand the sudden disappearance of their fleets, the unexpected destruction of their most powerful warships, and the strange, swift attacks that had left their forces in disarray. The human colony, once a forgotten entity, was now at the center of every conversation, every war room, and every meeting among the galaxy's top leaders. In a vast war room aboard the flagship of the Galactic Alliance, leaders from every corner of the galaxy convened. Their faces were etched with concern, their eyes filled with uncertainty. They were no strangers to conflict, but this was something entirely different. An unknown enemy had struck with precision and power, and now the question on everyone's mind was, how had humanity managed to develop such strength? In the shadows, a fleet commander, his voice steady but filled with unease, addressed the council. We've lost contact with 3 major sectors. Entire battalions have gone dark. There are reports of fleets vanishing without a trace, leaving nothing but debris. Our best ships, our pride, are being picked apart by something we can't even see. Then we must retaliate. A general from the Eastern Empire spoke up, slamming his fist on the table. His confidence was palpable, but there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. We will find them. They're just humans. We are the might of the galaxy. But the supreme leader of the Galactic Alliance, a calm and calculating figure, raised a hand to silence the room. The problem is not just that they're humans. The problem is that they've learned more than we ever expected. And they've done it in secret, hidden away from us for years. The weight of his words hit the room like a thunderclap. The thought of an unknown human colony hiding in the shadows, biding its time, was enough to unsettle even the most seasoned generals. We don't know their numbers, we don't know their technology. But one thing is certain: they've already infiltrated our systems. Their probes have been gathering data from every corner of our galaxy, and we didn't even know they were there. A hushed silence fell over the room as the magnitude of the situation began to sink in. The humans, hidden in plain sight, had outsmarted the galaxy's greatest empires. They had quietly watched, learned, and waited for the right moment to strike. And now, the galaxy was facing an enemy unlike any it had ever encountered. The supreme leader continued, his voice cold and measured. We have underestimated them for far too long, and now we must face the consequences of that mistake. At the same time, far beyond the reach of the galactic councils and their endless discussions, the human colony was continuing its mission with precision. Their ships moved silently through the dark expanse of space, taking over star systems one by one. Each new system, they claimed, was another piece of the galaxy they could call their own. In the heart of the human fleet, the captain stood before a large map of the galaxy. Studying it intently, his crew was at work, preparing for the next phase of their operation. The captain knew the importance of their next move. It would solidify humanity's place in the galaxy. We are not just taking star systems, the captain muttered to himself as he traced his finger along the map. We are creating something new, a new order, a new empire. The humans had always believed in their potential to reach the stars, but now they were proving that belief was more than just a dream. They were showing the galaxy that they had the will, the strength, and the strategy to dominate it. The captain looked up as a fleet officer entered the room. Sir, we've received new intel. The galactic leaders are starting to piece things together. They've realized it's us. They're beginning to mobilize their forces. The captain smiled grimly. Let them mobilize. Let them come. They're too slow. By the time they understand what's happening, it will be too late. The officer nodded, but there was still a hint of concern in his eyes. Do you think they'll be ready for us? They seem to have underestimated us before. The captain's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. They haven't seen anything yet. We've only shown them a glimpse of what we can do. Soon, they'll realize that the galaxy is ours to take. Back in the war room, the leaders of the galaxy's empires were finally coming to terms with the true nature of the threat. They had underestimated humanity for far too long. The human colony was not a weak, isolated faction. It was a well-prepared, highly strategic force that had been planning this moment for years. And now, the galaxy was waking up to the harsh reality: they were no longer the most powerful entities in the stars. The question was no longer if the humans would conquer the galaxy, but when and how the galaxy's empires would respond. The revelations were only beginning, but one thing was certain: the age of human dominance had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galactic panicked universe, once steady in its belief that the great empires held absolute control over the stars, was now gripped by an unnerving panic. The first encounter with the mysterious human forces had left the galaxy reeling, and the aftermath was no less unsettling. Emperors, kings, and commanders who once held sway over entire sectors now found themselves questioning their security. How could a hidden colony of humans rise so swiftly and so powerfully? What had they been hiding and how did they possess such unmatched technological might across the vast galactic council halls? Leaders met in desperation. The word human was now spoken in hushed tones, as if it were the name of some ancient terror, long forgotten but resurfacing in full force. The galaxy's brightest minds, once certain of their superiority, found themselves scrambling for answers. In the heart of the Galactic Empire's command center, General Rillick, a seasoned veteran known for his unshakable calm, paced back and forth in front of a war table covered with holographic projections. The ships of the Empire, once the pride of the galaxy, had been utterly outclassed by these humans. Their vessels moved with a speed and precision that defied understanding. Their weapons tore through shields like paper, and their tactics were unlike anything seen before. This is not just an attack, this is an invasion, Rillick muttered under his breath as he studied the movement of human ships. His mind raced with possibilities. How had humanity built such an advanced fleet? And why had they waited so long to strike? At the opposite end of the table, Empress Lyra of the Solar Dominion stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her expression cold and unreadable. We cannot ignore the threat, but we also cannot underestimate them. They have no apparent allies, no clear leader. It's as if they've emerged from the shadows with a plan that is as perfect as it is terrifying. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, and yet they have taken no planet by force. They move in silence. Why, what is their goal? A tactical officer, whose face was pale with fear, spoke up, breaking the silence. Your Majesty, they don't seem to be in a hurry. They are methodically taking over star systems one by one. It's as if they are waiting for us to make the first move. Lyra's fingers tightened around her cloak. They want us to be the aggressors. They want to provoke us into fighting. Rillick glanced at the officer, his expression turning grim. We need to take immediate action. We can't afford to wait any longer. Every moment we hesitate, they take another system and their strength grows. The officers in the room nodded in agreement, but none of them had any solid answers. How could they fight something they couldn't even properly see? How could they combat an invisible, unknown enemy with technology far beyond their own? The panic was beginning to set in, not just in the war rooms but across the entire galaxy. Every system, every empire was now a potential target. They were being drawn into a game they didn't understand, and they had no idea how to play. Far from the political chaos, the humans continued their silent work. Behind the scenes, the hidden colony's fleet had grown exponentially. The galaxy's largest empires were still scrambling for answers, and every moment of delay made the human forces stronger. On the bridge of the lead human ship, Captain Dre stood looking out at the stars. His crew, though few, were efficient and loyal. They had been preparing for this moment for years, waiting for the galaxy to notice them, and now that the galaxy was paying attention, it was time to make the next move. We've played their game long enough. Captain Dre spoke, his voice calm but filled with purpose. Let's show them we don't just want their systems, we want their respect, their submission. His command crew moved swiftly to their stations, ready for the next phase of the plan. The humans were no longer just surviving, they were thriving. They had gathered resources from countless uncharted systems, and their ships were fully equipped with the most advanced weaponry the galaxy had ever seen. Now, it was time to make their presence felt in a way that no one would ever forget. Drace's voice cut through the silence of the command deck. Prepare the fleet. We are going to send a message. We'll take one of their prized systems, something they value. And once we do, we'll show the galaxy what it means to underestimate humanity. The crew nodded in unison, ready for action. But even as they prepared to make their move, a deep sense of unease lingered in the air. The galaxy had been on edge, watching and waiting, trying to understand the humans' true motives. Now, as the humans prepared to strike again, they would send a signal to the entire galaxy, one that would leave no doubt about their intentions. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, a sense of dread was building. An old, powerful empire had been preparing for this very moment. Emperor Ziran of the Dark Star Coalition, who had spent decades building his empire's military might, had heard the whispers. The humans were not just a rogue colony, they were an unstoppable force that had been hiding in plain sight. His advisors urged him to act swiftly, to retaliate before the humans could strike again. But Ziran, though cautious, understood that the galaxy had never faced a threat like this before. He wasn't sure that even his powerful fleet could withstand the coming storm. The next move was critical, and the galaxy knew that time was running out. Humanity was no longer a small, forgotten corner of the universe. They were now the biggest challenge the galaxy had ever faced. The panic among the galactic leaders continued to grow, as each day that passed saw humanity expand their reach. The galaxy had underestimated humanity's potential. Now, it was too late to turn back. The true power of the hidden colony was about to be revealed, and the entire galaxy would have to face the consequences of their mistake. Asters the counterattack as the galaxy's mightiest forces scramble. To understand the scale of humanity's rise. Their most powerful empires found themselves at a crossroads. Panic was giving way to action. But every move they made felt like a step behind the humans, who seemed to always be one move ahead. The galaxy had long been used to controlling the stars, to holding dominion over the universe. Now, it was clear the balance had shifted, and humanity was determined to take their place at the top. On the central command ship of the Galactic Empire, the war room buzzed with activity. General Rillick's face was drawn tight, lines of stress creasing his brow. The reports were coming in fast, detailing the quiet conquest of yet another star system by the human forces. The fleet commander's frustration was palpable. He knew their only chance was to act quickly, but time was quickly running out. If they didn't do something now, humanity would have the entire galaxy in its grasp. "We can't keep sitting on the defensive," General Rillick muttered, staring out into the vast stretch of stars through the viewport. "We need a strike. And we need it now." The supreme leader of the Galactic Alliance, Lyra, stood tall and composed, her eyes narrowed in thought. "You're right, General, but we can't just throw our ships at them. We have to outthink them. They're clever. We need something unexpected, something they won't see coming." "What about a counter-strike?" Rillick asked. "We gather every fleet we can and hit them where it hurts, stake back the star systems they've claimed." Lyra shook her head. "A direct assault will only feed into their strategy. We need to surprise them, confuse them. They've been hiding in the shadows, but now, it's time we took the battle to their doorstep." And so, after hours of tense deliberation, the plan was formed. The galaxy's greatest fleet, including elite warships and newly upgraded military forces, would be mobilized. They would strike at the very heart of the human colony, a system that had been carefully selected for its value. The galaxy's most prized resource planet, home to a vast energy deposit, would be the first target of their retaliation. The fleet, with its massive ships and intimidating firepower, moved toward the human colony's stronghold, ready for the coming battle. The countdown had begun. But what the galactic forces didn't realize was that humanity had already anticipated their every move. It was, after all, the nature of the human strategic genius. They knew the galaxy's leaders would attempt this very thing. In fact, they had already laid their plans in motion. A counterattack had been set up long before the enemy even moved. The human fleet, though smaller in number, was far more advanced. Captain Dre stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of the incoming galactic fleet. His team moved swiftly, their every action calculated, precise. They had studied their enemies well. Now, it was time to turn the tables. "We won't let them take the system," Captain Dre said quietly. "Prepare for a defensive strike. Activate cloaking protocols. Let them think they have the upper hand." With every passing second, the human fleet grew quieter, more elusive. They knew the stakes of this battle. This was not just about defending one star system, it was about sending a clear message to the entire galaxy. Humanity would not be intimidated. Humanity would not be defeated. The first shots were fired as the galactic fleet moved into position, their immense ships filling the sky with the roar of weapons. But what they didn't see were the small, almost invisible human ships that darted around their defenses. The humans' cloaking technology, long perfected and hidden from the galaxy's prying eyes, rendered their ships almost undetectable. The moment the first strike hit, it was too late. From within the shadows, the humans launched their own surprise attack. Missiles flew with uncanny precision, striking the vulnerable points of the galactic ships. The enemy fleet faltered, disoriented, as their weapons systems began to fail. Their shields, built to withstand the best the galaxy had to offer, were useless against the human fleet's new technologies. It was a bloodless strike, but a devastating one. The galactic fleet had been caught off guard, with entire warships lost to the unseen onslaught. And yet, even as their enemies were being disintegrated, the human fleet never appeared directly on the battlefield. Their ships remained invisible, their movements smooth and calculated. It was as though the humans were ghosts in the stars. The tension in the galactic war room reached a breaking point. General Rillick clenched his fists as he watched his fleet suffer. "This isn't possible," he growled. "They're playing us." Empress Lyra stood, her voice tight with fury. "This isn't a battle, it's a lesson. They've been studying us, watching our every move. This isn't just an attack, it's a warning." The rest of the galaxy's leaders were in disarray. They had sent their best forces to take back what they had lost, but in doing so, they had made a grave mistake. The humans had not only anticipated their every move, but they had also used their strength against them in a way no one had expected. Humanity wasn't just defending a system, they were sending a clear message: we're here. And we are unstoppable. Captain Drace watched the chaos unfold before him, his expression calm. He knew this was only the beginning. As the enemy fleet scrambled to regroup, the humans had already begun to plan their next move. The galaxy, which had once been so sure of its dominance, was now struggling to keep up. In the midst of the attack, a message was sent to the galactic forces, encrypted and precise. It was short but carried a weight that no one could ignore: humanity is no longer hiding. Prepare for what comes next. As the message spread across the stars, it was clear the galaxy was no longer in control. Humanity had risen from the shadows and their power was only just beginning to be felt. Humanity's true intention's aftermath of the devastating counterattack left the galaxy's greatest empires reeling, their once proud fleets battered and disoriented. What had begun as a struggle to reclaim lost systems had quickly turned into something much bigger. The humans had made it clear they were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something far more significant. Something that would reshape the entire galaxy. As the galactic leaders gathered in their war rooms, the tension was palpable. The defeat had not only been a military blow but a psychological one as well. Humanity's fleet had operated with a cold, calculated precision, leaving the Empire's leaders questioning everything they had known about the balance of power in the galaxy. The once unquestioned superiority of the galactic empires was now in serious jeopardy. In a dark, somber chamber aboard the Empire's flagship, Supreme Leader Lyra addressed the council. She had never been one to show weakness, but now her voice carried an edge of uncertainty. This is no longer just about territory, she began, her voice steady but filled with frustration. The humans don't want what we have, they want to change everything: the way we govern, the way we interact, the very structure of the galaxy itself. They are not simply taking systems, they are dismantling the old order. A silence fell over the room. Her words hit harder than any weapon could. The idea that the humans, once thought of as scattered and weak, were now challenging the very foundation of the galaxy's power structure sent ripples of fear through the assembled leaders. We've underestimated them for far too long, General Rillick spoke, his tone heavy with disbelief. They've studied us, they know how we think, how we fight. They've crafted a strategy that is not just about conquest, but about rewriting the rules of the game. An advisor from the Zacher Empire, his voice trembling with anger, added, their true intentions are clear now. They are not simply seeking revenge, they are building something new, a new order. One where we are not the masters of the galaxy, but part of it. Supreme Leader Lyra nodded solemnly. The humans have a vision. They've been planning this for decades, waiting for the right moment, and now that they've struck, they want to bring everyone under their control, under their system. The question that had been on every mind was now undeniable. What did humanity want? As these discussions unfolded across the galaxy, humanity's own plans were moving forward with unparalleled efficiency. Captain Drace, the mastermind behind the fleet strikes, stood at the helm of his command ship, staring out at the stars. He wasn't just thinking about military tactics, he was thinking about the bigger picture. He wasn't interested in just taking systems for the sake of expansion, he had a deeper purpose. We've already proven that we are stronger than they thought, Drace murmured to his second-in-command, Commander Yara, who stood nearby. But this isn't about power for the sake of power. This is about creating something that lasts. Something better. Yara raised an eyebrow, intrigued. A new order, Drace nodded. The galaxy has been ruled by the same corrupt systems for millennia, the empires. The factions, they have all failed their people, they've built walls, divided us, and kept us fighting amongst ourselves. It's time to unite under a single banner, a common cause. We're not here just to conquer, we're here to rebuild. The commander looked out at the stars, considering Drace's words. And you think they'll accept this new order after everything we've done? Drace's eyes hardened. They don't have a choice. We've given them a glimpse of what we're capable of. And now we'll show them what it means to unite. Under one rule, the galaxy's systems are fractured and we intend to fix that. This will be a galaxy where every being has a purpose, a role to play, not just the elite. Not just the powerful, but everyone. Yara remained silent for a moment, processing the captain's words. And the other races, the alien species? We'll integrate them, Drace replied. This won't be a human empire. It will be a unified galaxy where every race, every species has a place. But under human leadership, under a system that values cooperation over division. The humans weren't just fighting to conquer, they were fighting to create something new. Something that would eliminate the chaos of constant warfare and bring stability to a fractured galaxy. And they were prepared to do whatever it took to achieve it. Meanwhile, the galaxy's leaders, still stunned by the humans' unexpected victory, were scrambling to understand the true nature of their foe. What had once seemed like an invasion was now revealing itself to be a challenge to the very core of galactic society. And despite their best efforts, the galaxy's rulers could not agree on how to respond. Some suggested military action, another attack on the human colonies, hoping to crush them before they could gain any more ground. Others suggested negotiation, offering peace to avoid a full-scale war. But as the debate raged on, one thing became clear: the galaxy was no longer unified. The humans had exposed the fractures in the Empire's structure, and now the galaxy's powers were turning on each other, unsure of how to proceed. While the debates continued across the stars, humanity's grip on the galaxy only tightened. The message the humans sent with their counterattacks was clear: we are no longer the underdogs. We are the new leaders. And as the humans moved forward with their vision of a united galaxy, their true intentions of not just conquering but creating something better became undeniable. They were not here to destroy, they were here to heal, to build, and to rule. But whether the galaxy was ready for such a change, only time would tell. The dawn of a new galaxy. The galaxy was on the verge of a new dawn. But the question remained: who would lead it? The once proud empires of the universe, used to their iron grip on power, now found themselves in the shadow of a new force: humanity. The old order had crumbled and the balance of power had shifted. But the universe had not yet come to terms with the fact that a new galaxy was emerging, one where humans would take the reins. In the capital of the Galactic Alliance, Supreme Leader Lyra sat alone in her private chamber, gazing out at the vastness of space. The stars seemed to shimmer with the endless possibilities of the future. But her mind was clouded. The humans had outplayed them at every turn. They had taken star systems with unparalleled precision, crippled their fleets, and shown the galaxy that they were not here to take a small piece, they were here to claim it all. But as the realization of humanity's power dawned on the galaxy's leaders, a sense of unease began to spread. The universe had been in chaos for centuries, torn apart by wars, division, and distrust. The humans, with their vision of unity, had turned that chaos into a new kind of order, one that, for better or for worse, was beginning to take root. The galactic powers, unable to agree on a unified response, were now splintering. Some factions clung to the hope that they could defeat humanity with sheer military force, while others had begun to quietly accept the inevitable, realizing that humanity's vision of a united galaxy might be the only way forward. The debate raged on, but the humans' control of key star systems and resources was growing stronger by the day. In the heart of the human fleet, Captain Drace stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the projection of the galaxy. The human empire was rapidly expanding, but this was only the beginning. His crew moved with an efficiency that reflected the discipline of their cause. Humanity was no longer simply surviving, they were thriving, advancing, and reforming. "We've done what we set out to do," Drace said, his voice resolute. "But this is just the first step. The galaxy isn't ready for us yet, but they will be. And when the time comes, they will accept what we're offering." Commander Yara stood next to him, watching the stars outside. "Do you really think they'll embrace us after everything we've done to them?" Drace turned to her, his gaze unwavering. "They have no choice. The old way of life is broken. We've proven that. They either adapt or fade away, and we're offering them something better, a chance to finally unite, to build a future where every race, every species can have a place. It's a new beginning for all of us." As the captain spoke, a holographic message flickered to life on the command screen. It was from Empress Lyra, leader of the Galactic Empire, requesting a meeting with Captain Drace. The message was clear, though its tone was cautious. "I'm curious about the humans," Drace muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "Let's see what she has to say." The meeting was arranged, and soon Captain Drace found himself standing face to face with the leader of the Galactic Empire, a woman who had once stood at the top of the galaxy's power hierarchy. Now, she was just another leader facing the consequences of underestimating humanity. Lyra's expression was guarded as she spoke. "You've won. You've taken the star systems, you've beaten our fleets, and now the galaxy is yours to claim. But I have to ask why? Why destroy everything to create this new order? Why tear apart the very structure that has held the galaxy together for millennia?" Drace met her gaze, his voice calm but filled with purpose. "We didn't destroy it. The old order was already broken. It was fractured beyond repair. And the only way to move forward was to build something new. We're not here to tear down the galaxy, we're here to unite it, to show that there's a better way." Lyra's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker of understanding behind them. "And you believe the galaxy will accept that they will follow you?" Drace smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "They'll have no choice. We've already proven that we're not just a passing threat, we're the future." The meeting ended, and Lyra left the room, her mind racing. She had seen the humans' power firsthand, and she couldn't deny that their vision for a united Galaxy was a compelling one, but could she trust them? Could she really accept a future where humanity ruled the galaxy? As Lyra walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was standing on the edge of something monumental. Humanity had proven that they were not just survivors, they were builders. And the galaxy was about to be rebuilt in their image, across the stars. The same realization was dawning on every corner of the universe. The humans had claimed their place in the galaxy, and now, the question was no longer about whether they would rise, it was about whether the galaxy could evolve alongside them. In the coming months, many empires and species would bow to the new order, some would resist. But even the most powerful forces in the galaxy had begun to understand that humanity had the strength, the will, and the vision to reshape the future. The galaxy was no longer divided, it was becoming a unified whole under a single rule. With humanity at the helm, the old empires, once so proud and invincible, faded into the background, becoming part of the new galaxy. It was a galaxy where war was no longer the answer, where peace was possible, and where the boundaries between species began to blur. And as Captain Drace stood before his fleet, gazing out at the stars, he knew that humanity's mission was far from over. The galaxy had been forever changed, and now, humanity would lead it toward a new future, one built on unity, strength, and the promise of a better tomorrow. The humans had risen, and the dawn of a new galaxy had begun.